Do you know how much an average skein of yarn costs?
Oh, I'm gonna guess $4.
That's cute. So now that I've spilled tea on you, are you ready to begin?
Yeah, it's not that hot.
Yeah, it's been... I need to make a tea cozy so that it'll stay warmer. It'll be like warm by the end of my recording. But I also think my teapot is so cute that if I covered it up with a tea cozy...
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
Anyway. Hi everybody!
Hello.
Welcome to the special extended chit chat segment of Yarn to Table. We're going to be doing the Fiber Friends tag today. And I'm going to be posting all of the questions in the doobly-doo below, so if you want to do it yourself, definitely take from there. Feel free to do it. I am also going to be directly tagging WOOLJEWEL, 10,000 Stitches, and Squirrel Pie Productions. So you guys are tagged, and I hope to see you do this with anyone you want. It can be husbands, friends, sisters, mothers, you know, anybody in your life, ideally not a knitter or not a serious knitter, to kind of get their outside perspective, and hopefully somebody who knows you well. So yeah. And so basically I'm just going to be asking Ryan some questions about knitting, and it should be interesting. So Ryan, what is your favorite thing that I have knit for you?
For me?
Uh-huh.
The little devil horn red hat.
Yes.
You didn't knit it for me, but I stole it and decided it was for me.
Yeah.
That's how much it's my favorite.
Yeah, you do love that hat. I actually knit that before we were even dating, and then early on when we were dating, I wore it over to your apartment one time, and I'm pretty sure you took it off my head, and I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
Yeah, you love that. I can insert a photo of anything that we mentioned that I have photos of, so
Okay.
I'll be doing that as well. So do you have a favorite thing that I have knit in general, not just for you, but like something I've knit that you love?
There's gosh, I mean, I like the fingerless gloves a lot.
Yeah.
They're really cool. But there's some of your tops that you wear yourself that you look so good in.
Oh.
But I can't.
Thanks.
One of them is the one that we almost felted the other day. That
Yeah,
one actually probably is my favorite. Like,
Really?
It looks so good on you. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's a shame.
Thanks. the kind of lavender one. But
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the pavement.
Love that fabric.
Thank you. So how long have I been knitting?
Since you were, I want to say 11.
Yep, I was 10, so pretty
Okay.
close. Would you ever go to a fiber festival with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're planning to go to the Wool Gathering this year, which is kind of near us. So that's going to be my first fiber festival, actually. And I would say you're excited to go. Is that fair? I think you're most interested in the ones where there's going to be like animals and stuff, like Rhinebeck.
Yeah.
More so than like Vogue Knitting Live, which is in New York and is really kind of divorced from the sort of agricultural part of it, I guess, or that I guess that's not really the right term.
I'm interested in seeing them animals.
Yeah.
Seeing the raw product.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to the Wool Gathering, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't think I've even mentioned that yet, but we've decided to do that. And we want to go to Rhinebeck together at some point as well. Does it bother you when I drag you to yarn stores?
No, but it's like the last 10 minutes we're there. I'm a little like, man, why are we still here?
Yeah, I do take my time.
I try to be like, this is her thing, but then I'm also like, I can't see what she hasn't gotten yet, what she hasn't noticed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the last 10 minutes.
And I usually only take you to yarn stores when we're traveling.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
I'm usually excited to do whatever. You're never taking me to the same yarn store twice, which would be more
annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the ones that have cats.
Oh, sure.
So.
Yeah, I guess I have taken you to a couple in town when it's like we're in a neighborhood and I haven't been there. But I've never made you go to a yarn store that I've already been to before. It's always out of like, you know, like I know that it's not your favorite thing, so I really only take you if we're like in Nashville or like in a certain neighborhood and I haven't been there before.
I think we're both being pretty considerate.
Yeah. You know, we love each other. Marriage.
We never go to a yarn store where it's like, oh, we got to get to this other thing in half an hour. So we always go with enough time to take your time.
That would be the worst way to go to a yarn store is rushed. Like, you might as well not even bother. It's like going to a bookstore rushed. Like, what are you even doing? It's not fun.
They should have book/yarn stores.
It's a good idea. Those would definitely have cats. What is the coolest thing you've learned from my addiction to knitting?
I like when you talk about how insane it is that some woman in prehistory figured this out. Because when you look at it, it's so not intuitive that you have a string and go, yeah, I'm going to make a sock or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like weaving seems like something you can imagine people figuring out, but knitting is so, yeah, kind of mind-blowing. Good answer.
And I've never given it that much thought before.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to knit yourself?
No, I'm pretty sure that I'm not gonna be as good at it as I want to be, and it's gonna be frustrating to me. And I have a little trouble even conceptually when I watch you being like, what? And you seem to be able to do it while doing other things, and I feel like I would have to focus so much.
I mean, you'd be a beginner, so you told me last year that you wanted me to teach you, though. Yeah,
I mean, I wanna know more about it. But I don't think that I would continue doing it afterwards.
Okay, I see.
And I don't know, maybe I'd be good at it because I have the patience for some origami, so.
Yeah.
Do you think that's helpful?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think I've seen you be interested in like other crafts before and making things, and I think that I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I wouldn't be surprised if I taught you and you were like, okay, that's cool to see how it works, but I'm not gonna be a knitter. But I also wouldn't be surprised if you sort of casually took it up and were like working on something every now and then.
It seems like I've given that some thought while you were talking and I wasn't listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the kind of hobby that you have to get to a certain level of talent before you can express yourself.
Yes. I mean, you can express yourself in your choice of yarn and pattern, but it's difficult in knitting, I would say, to create your own pattern, more so than crochet, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people, like my mother was always more into crochet because she could kind of freestyle it.
Oh, okay.
And freestyling with knitting, I think you have to have more knowledge because you are kind of limited by the fact that like all of the loops are on that one needle, you know, whereas in crochet you just have this one loop and you can kind of go anywhere that you want with it. That probably
that makes sense to them, but not to me.
Yeah, I think you can express yourself as a beginner, but I can understand why some people would be frustrated by the limitations of how much they can express and like wanting to make things and not knowing how to make them yet.
Yeah, I feel like in my first year, you know, I could make something and show you and you could be like, that's pretty good. But it's not going to be like, oh, what an interesting choice you made, because all I'm doing is showing you that I'm still a beginner, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's a mixture of skill and self-expression, like a lot of arts are. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I always got frustrated by like drawing and stuff, by how I had ideas that I wanted to create, but I never really had the skill for it. But the other thing is, wanting to create things will sometimes motivate you to practice more. you know, like with music, right? Like you wanted to make certain music, and so you practiced. And I'm not speaking so much now because it's not like you're actively getting better at guitar now, but like when you were a teenager.
Or taking on a new instrument.
Yeah, but like when you were a teenager, you were practicing guitar probably more than you would practice anything else simply because you wanted to make music.
That's probably why it's good to start knitting when you're a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to learn most things when you're younger, apparently, but yeah, so, I feel like we went on a long tangent with that one, but that was good. I like
good
that.
Tangent.
Does it bother you when I buy yarn?
No. I know that because of you, or like how you got obsessed with minimalism, I know that I trust you now that you don't go on buying sprees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's never really bothered me.
What do you think about me doing this?
I think it's good for you.
Do you know the difference in the weights of yarn?
Let's see how I can explain it. And I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, and this will be the comedy that you're looking for. So there's featherweight, and that's you'll need smaller needles to knit it, and it's really light but probably tight. And then the heavier weight is like the stuff, like you have one top that you knitted with like these huge needles, and it almost looked like a rope. And so those are looser knots. So the weight is like the size of the actual thread or string or
yeah,
rope.
I mean the weight is the circumference of the yarn, but it doesn't affect how loose or tight. The combination of the circumference of the yarn with the needles is going to tell you that. But you can knit, like, so that sweater that you mentioned that you liked, the sweater we almost felted, that was knit on what's called a US size 6. That same weight of yarn can be knit on a US size 1 to make socks. And the difference in the tightness is created with the, in that case, on this, using the same yarn between two different needle sizes.
So there's always a range of needles you can use for different weights.
And then individual people will just naturally knit looser or tighter. So that's why you have to like check your gauge and stuff. But yeah, like yarn weight is only one of the things that's going to tell you how big and how big the loops are and how tight and the actual gauge is and how like dense the actual fabric is. It's one of the variables. But do you know the names of any of the yarn weights?
Isn't featherweight a thing, or is that boxing?
Yeah, I don't know what featherweight is.
Okay, there's 6. That's one you said.
No, that was a needle.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know any of the weights.
Oh, okay. All right, he doesn't know it. DK, does that sound familiar at all? DK, worsted.
DK, worsted sounds familiar.
Okay.
Fingering weight. Yeah, you're always saying fingering superwash.
Okay.
DK makes shoes.
Cool. DK is short for Donkey Kong.
Really?
Yeah, that's when I learned
when you
DK
talk about the...
with knitting. Well, no, it's short for double knitting.
Oh.
But when I learned the term DK, all I could think about was like when you play those, like Mario Party or whatever, and like Donkey Kong is always labeled DK, and that was what it.
Didn't one of them he had a T-shirt that said DK?
Maybe he's a knitter.
He knitted a sweater for Donkey Kong Jr. that says DK.
Yeah. That's probably it. Okay. Do you have a favorite yarn company or indie dyer?
No.
Can you name any yarn companies or indie dyers?
They all have adorable names. I probably couldn't name an indie dyer. None of them are filed in my head anywhere.
How much do you know, or do you know how much an average skein of yarn costs?
Oh, I'm gonna guess $4.
That's cute. If I were to ask you to buy me yarn, what would you do?
I would go to a yarn shop and I would focus more on colors, and I would probably get fingering weight, just because I hear you talk about it a lot.
Huh? That's a pretty good plan. How much yarn do you think I buy in a month?
Probably 10 skeins.
I think that's even more than I buy. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's more.
Okay, good.
Well, I mean, it depends on the month or whatever.
$40. What?
Don't tell him how much yarn costs, you guys. Okay. Can I yarn bomb the house? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I know what that means. People yarn bomb in our neighborhood a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't seem like a yarn bomber, but yeah, you could yarn bomb the house. It's a little weird, I think, when it's outside, like after a while, it sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
I do really like somebody yarn bombed something in the neighborhood, but they put googly eyes on it so that it looks like sort of like a Muppet.
Uh-huh.
And that has weathered fine. It just gets cuter and cuter. So if you're gonna yarn bomb, make sure it has eyes.
Okay. Good note, everybody taking notes at home. Make sure your yarn bombs have eyes. Okay, so would you say I am obsessed, interested, or dabbling in fiber?
I'd say you're obsessed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, now this is gonna be real fun. What do these initialisms, acronyms, and words mean?
Okay.
FO.
It means fingering weight. Even though.
No. If I said, hey everybody, I have an FO to share with you today.
Oh, a finished object.
Yeah! Okay, what about a UFO?
Unfinished object.
Yes. What about a HO? An HO.
A hard object.
That's a half object. What about a whip?
That's something you didn't finish?
It's a work in progress.
Okay, yeah.
And then, do you know what BFL or MCN stand for? Those are fiber blends. No idea, right?
No. BFL? No.
Do you know what an LYS is? If I said, I want to go to this LYS while we're in New York.
No.
Local yarn store.
Oh, local.
We love our acronyms and our initialisms.
And you guys are like the military.
Yeah. Then obviously I don't think you're going to get EYF or VKL. Those are Edinburgh Yarn Fest and Vogue Knitting Live.
Oh, yeah.
SSK is another one. But you know Tink and Frog, right?
Yeah, tinking and frogging is when you pull it apart. I forget what tinking is.
Yeah, like you rip all the way back. Tink is knit spelled backwards. So it's
Also,
when
it's
you
the same
undo one by one. So tinking back is you undo one by one. Frogging is when you rip.
So frogging's more dramatic than tinking. Tinking's for a minor error.
Yeah,
Frogging's
tinking's
for...
if you're just going back a little ways. And frogging is if you need to rip out rows and rows. Yeah. Do you know why it's called frog?
I don't.
Because you rip it.
Oh, right. That's cute.
I know, right?
Did that exist before the internet?
Yeah. We had like magazines and stuff.
Nice.
If you could have me make you anything, what would it be?
More fingerless gloves, probably. Sorry. I know you really want to make me a cardigan. I'm looking forward to it, but
I've made you 3 pairs of fingerless gloves, and they're literally the worst thing in the world to me.
I know.
And
I know,
when we
you
say
don't like
fingerless
it.
gloves, we're not talking about mitts. We're talking about individual fingers. They're just missing the tips. So I'm still knitting fingers.
I just want them in every color. If I was like...
That's what my dad asked for too. I don't know what it is with men and gloves. Oh my gosh.
Gives us like a style.
What were you saying?
If I was like a rock star, that would be my signature thing. Like, oh my gosh, he always has fingerless gloves to match his outfit. Probably wouldn't help me play guitar. Although I did start playing guitar with a glove without fingers because my hand would get sweaty and it would be harder to move up and down the neck. Yeah, so I can play as well with a glove as without.
Nice.
Because I'm lazy.
Do you wear the things I knit you?
Yeah. Some of them I don't. I think you knitted me a tie,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never been able to like make
I
it
think
work.
I think we got rid of that actually. Yeah. Because you never wore it. Another use for knitting needles would be.
Oh, when something falls like between the slots on our hardwood floors.
Oh, that's a good one.
They're really great for getting stuff out of there.
That's a good one. Am I a product or a process knitter?
I think you're a process knitter because you keep every time you're. I mean, I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to assume is every project you have is sort of a different challenge. You're always trying to learn something while you're producing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I would say I'm a process knitter, although we all kind of have some malleability to that. But it's mainly about your motivation. Do you primarily knit for the product, or do you primarily knit for the process of knitting?
Yeah, I mean, you make socks different ways.
Mm-hmm. And I'm someone who I will choose projects. Sometimes a certain project will be more about the product. Sometimes it'll be more about the process. Like I might choose a project that I don't even necessarily want to wear, and I make it for someone else just because I want to try that technique.
Mm.
But occasionally I'll choose something that isn't that fun to knit just because I want the product.
Was that like the thing you gave to Kelly that she liked so much?
Her sweater?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was...
You made it to her size, so you weren't going to wear it.
Well, I was making it specifically for her, and the thing with that was I wanted to... I had marked that sweater as something that reminded me of Kelly, and then there was a knit along for that designer, and I knew that that would be a quick sweater to make, and at that point I'd only made one sweater. So it was kind of process because I wanted to like make a quick sweater and be part of that knit along, but it was also something I had chosen with her in mind.
That's probably been your most well-received gift.
You think?
Oh yeah, she freaked out.
I feel like I have never seen her wear it though. She did freak out.
She did. I thought she wore it twice right after getting it.
Maybe
She took pictures.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she was being phony.
What is my stash really like? Do you think I could do with more or less, and why?
Is all your stash in this room?
Uh-huh.
It's in control.
It's all right there.
Yeah, I think you're good about buying for the project. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, honestly, if you had a stash, you would never get to it because you're process and not product knitter. So it's not like you're gonna be like, oh, I've got enough of this one, I'll make 2 socks out of it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people buy yarn without projects in mind, and then they still knit from stash because they'll think like, they'll be like, I want to knit a sweater, let me look at my sweater quantities that I have and then choose a pattern based on what I already have in my stash. And to me, that's just like not the way that I would approach it. I would choose a pattern and then get yarn for it.
I'm looking at your stash off camera. How much of your stash is gifts?
I mean, I knit primarily for myself.
But you've gotten a lot of like free skeins and stuff.
Oh, it's gifts from oh, you mean gifts that other people gave me?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I imagine that's the way that some people's stashes build up.
Yeah, I have, I just have a couple that are...
But I mean, you do have some because you're into yarn dyeing too, and you like... I mean, I get from watching...
I'll buy yarn that I mostly just like the yarn and know that it can be socks.
Yeah.
But then you can easily get out of control with that and buy more than you would ever make for socks. So I still try to rein that in a little.
That's something that a lot of craftsmen do. There were carpenters who were like, I have this piece of wood. And they have it for years. And they have no idea of what to do with it. But they saw it, and it was just such a great material that they had to have it. Because if anyone's going to appreciate that raw material, it's going to be the craftsman. So you still get pleasure out of just having those well-dyed yarns that you have no idea what to do with.
That's true. I think the most that my stash ever stresses me out is having leftovers and not.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I try to plan as much as I can to like use them up, but I also occasionally have to go through and just either
get rid of them or come up with a project that uses a bunch
Is
of
that
leftovers.
part of why the Cozy Memories blanket is so
No, well,
good?
the Cozy Memory, I mean, for some people that's what it's like. The Cozy Memories blanket for me, I only do a square to actually remember certain projects, so I don't just, I can only put fingering in it, and I only do one square, so it doesn't actually use up, like, if I have half a skein or whatever.
Oh.
But what a lot of people do that works for them is like a big crochet blanket that you can just keep adding to in these stripes. But I'm not particularly into that either. So I think I usually either have to like make something smaller, like a baby, hat or something like that as a gift or whatever. But eventually, I guess what I'm saying is I find uses for my leftovers, but I have to, I make leftovers faster than I can find uses for them, so I also occasionally have to just get rid of things. But I don't necessarily mind that, because I also don't feel like it's a waste of yarn to buy a skein and only use part of it for a project, because that's the amount of it that I wanted to use, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
If it's sitting around my house, I don't want it to just be sitting there. So.
In the near future, there's going to be a lot of babies with neon green hats. I think.
Cool. So how do fiber crafts help me?
I mean, like, I'm jealous because we were doing something the other day, we were going through it, and I wish I had something to do with my hands, and you're just like, So, yeah, they help you with anxiety, I think. Just to get that movement.
Yeah, something to put your energy into.
I imagine it probably helps you feel like you're accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And then you don't, because you have anxiety about wasted time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we're seeing a movie, you're like, I can also knit on a sock, and then you feel productive. Pardon me. I've been drinking, if you've been paying attention, I had like 5 cups of tea.
I always have so many burps when I record because I'm drinking tea and I'm also talking quickly. So when you talk quickly, you like swallow air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
I usually edit them out.
like 3 Diet Dr. Peppers this morning, so.
Okay, so the next question is, how much money do you think I spend on yarn? We already kind of answered that with the other.
Apparently, I think less than you do.
Well, no, because I think you think I buy more yarn, but you also think the yarn is cheaper than it is. I think I buy less yarn for more money.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
So I feel like we're probably, I don't know. But I mean, I don't, yeah.
I mean, when we get really tight, we can just frog them yarn bombs. I used all the vocabulary.
Good job. Can you explain the difference between knitting, crochet, weaving, and spinning?
Well, crochet is always larger and looser than knitting.
Nope.
No? Okay. I imagine it's always... Crochet, I know crochet takes less skill.
That's not entirely true either. Why don't you just explain what it is? It's not asking you to explain like on some philosophical
From what
level.
you said earlier, crochet has to do with like you have the string on both needles, and knitting you have the string on one needle.
Oh my god.
Where did I get that?
You really don't know what crochet is, do you?
I'm not really. I mean, I know from like in context you talking about it that apparently it's easier to pick up. Yeah. It's easier to learn.
It's easier to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it can be just as, like, all of the lace and stuff that people do.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I said it doesn't necessarily take less
And there's
skill.
some things that you can't crochet a sock. It won't work.
I mean, some people do crochet socks, but they're not exactly what socks traditionally are. In terms
You
of
can't go to war in a crocheted sock.
Okay, but all of this is you having these like philosophical ideas of the difference, but you can't actually explain to me what crocheting is.
No, I can't. I don't. No, I can't. And then what was the other? Weaving and what? Spinning? Spinning is when you take like the wool that you've pulled off of the sheep or whatever, and you actually like you work it into a single thread. so that it all kinks together and goes from like a puff into a string. And then weaving is... I'm
going to start a spinning company and our tagline's going to be from puff to string. Such a good way of saying it.
Weaving, I mean, I've seen a lot of weaving, you know, like when you go to like some historical village, you know, but it involves a loom where you like, you take one string through horizontally through all these vertical things, and then you pull the loom down, and then it sort of locks it in place, and you can do patterns, and then the Industrial Revolution, you know, automated that process. And
Sure.
Little kids would get caught in the machines.
Those things that I make...
It got dark. Those things that I make
From
that
puff
I
to string.
hang on the wall.
Those are crocheted, right?
No. Those are woven, but not on a loom. They're done on a hand loom. But those are in, out, in, out. Okay, let's do it this way. This shirt that you're wearing.
Oh, okay. Is it woven? Yeah, it's got little... Yeah, that's woven.
Okay, and then this hoodie that I'm wearing.
Yeah, that's knit because it's got little V's,
Yeah,
and this is straight
the V's,
lines.
The V's. Yep. See? Okay.
I remember that's like when you first noticed and you first became interested in knitting. It was because you were like, why does this have V's and this doesn't?
Yeah, I noticed the difference in fabric when I was a kid, and I wanted to. So I'm convinced that you understand the difference between knitting and weaving, and that you have no idea what crochet is.
Yeah.
I would have
said that.
I'd say that's above average for someone that
I have
doesn't.
some opinions about crochet.
Ignorant opinions.
Yeah.
Entirely ignorant opinions. Like you can't make socks.
I have some received opinions that, I mean, I learned it from you.
I said crochet is easier to pick up.
You said,
That
well, here's the
doesn't
thing.
mean that you can't be a highly skilled crocheter.
You're always annoyed that when people see you're knitting, they're like, oh, do you crochet? You're like, I'm knitting right now. Like, or they think you're crocheting when you're knitting.
Yeah, people see me knitting and they ask if I'm crocheting, or they show me something that's been crocheted and they go, oh, you'll love this. Look at this knitted basket.
Yeah, they wanna relate to you because they think that knitting is the same as crochet or something. So I would say that really the crocheters are ignorant.
Oh my God.
But I'm on the outside, just ignorant about it.
It's not crocheters that are saying that. Crocheters can tell that I'm knitting.
You're right.
It's people who don't do either.
It's people who've seen someone crochet who are the real ignoramuses.
Exactly. So, let's see. How do you explain me being a knitter to other people?
Usually it's like, she made this!
You just like to brag on me?
Yeah. Yeah. I've shown people at work pictures, and when I'm wearing something you made, I tell people, and when you're wearing something you made, I tell people before you would.
Yeah. Do you show people at work pictures of my sweaters? Are you like, look, my wife made a sweater? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. What is something you wish I liked to do as much as I like to knit?
Clean?
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. I also wish I liked to clean as much as I like to knit. That would be convenient.
We're in agreement. Speaking of, are we almost done? I have to vacuum.
Yeah. Just to be clear, this isn't like a sexist, like, gender roles thing. He wants me to clean. To be clear, he does all the cleaning. Because I'm busy knitting.
Yeah, and I'm not keeping up on it.
Look,
it bothers me more than it bothers her.
all the knitting in this household. Like, if you need something knit, like, I'm making 100% of the socks that are being made.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you do all the knitting.
So think of it that way. Technically, that's still, like, women's work.
Right. I'm going to tell people that at work.
Yeah. If I were to die tomorrow, what would you do with all my fiber stuff? Well, that's kind of a dark question, isn't it? I didn't write these questions.
They'd probably sit here for 5 years before somebody was like, Ryan, you have to do something with that. I mean, honestly, though, I'd probably lose the house. I probably couldn't afford this house.
I
love how you just go so literal with it, where you're just like, what would I do if she died? I would lose the house.
Be a damn mess.
It's a terrible question.
I know, I don't like that question.
It's a ridiculous question. Okay, does it embarrass you when I knit in public?
No.
Okay, good, because I'm not going to stop.
I mean, it doesn't embarrass me, but I find it annoying when people come up and they're like, oh, are you crocheting?
I know, that's the worst. Does it embarrass you when I knit at a family gathering?
No. No, I get it. If I could, I would. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does your family say behind my back about me knitting at family gatherings?
I don't think they mind it. It seems to fit in with my family's dynamic because we used to have. I mean, I don't know if any of like the older aunts or the older aunts did that. But it seems pretty natural. If the family's saying things behind the back, I don't usually hear it anymore.
Sometimes Leah knits at family gatherings too.
That's true.
She doesn't knit as much as I do, and she mainly does like washcloths and stuff. But she'll bring it to like, you know.
I mean, I guess the only thing would be it'd be like a little weird if you like break it out at a wedding, because it's a little weird when you're like dressed up. It just, you know, like you're in a gown, or it's like a elegant occasion, and then you're doing women's work, and then, you know, like domestic labor when you're dressed like a peer.
Getting into some really complicated class issues.
Yeah.
What would you say I knit the most of?
Socks. You seem to always have a sock to work on because they're more mindless, I guess. And so like if we're at the movies, you're working on a sock.
That's true. How would you rate me on a crafting skill level?
Crafting skill level?
Yeah.
I would rate you at an 8. Crafting just knitting or like all craftiness?
I don't know.
I'll give you an 8.
What are you giving me an 8 for? All craftiness?
Well, mostly
knitting?
like the crafts that you craft. Yeah. But I mean, you've made some other interesting things.
What could I do to get it up to a 10?
I think to get it up to a 10, you'd have to design your own, because you've dyed successfully on your first try. But I think you'd have to do your own patterns. I
designed the stockings that I made for Christmas.
Oh yeah. You were. I remember that you were working on those. You were frustrated by those for a little while. Okay. Do you want to be a 9? 8.5.
Well, what do I have to do to be a 10? Like regularly design things?
I mean, I guess.
I have some design ideas, I just haven't.
I'm trying to be sort of Japanese about this, where, you know, like you only the rare few are going to be masters and be at a 10.
So I have to be like Nora Gone to be a 10?
Okay.
I have to like professionally design sweaters that most people can't even make?
Yeah, that would be a 10. If most people can't even do what you're doing.
So if I am designing things regularly, but you don't have to be a master knitter to be able to knit them, like they're not like Nora Gone. Like if I'm designing things like that sweater, the pavement sweater that we almost felted, the one you said you liked, am I a 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you
I'm gonna get there, you guys. Okay. That's my new goal, is to get him to say I'm a 9.
You're almost there.
He's clearly the authority, given that he knows so much about it.
Yeah.
All right. So how would you do... What? Are you freaking kidding me right now? The next question is... Oh, Aggie's over it. He's like, why are both of you doing this now? Do you want to come up here? Do you want to come get in my lap? Come here.
He doesn't know how to get up here. We're so close together.
I know. We're all jammed in here. Aggie. Get all up in this. Intermission.
He's like, I need someone to pet me while I eat.
I know. Yeah, Aggie. So the next question we're skipping because it's what would you do with my stash if I died? That's just a new way to phrase that weird question that was already came up earlier. Why is that in there twice? That's so weird. And then, is there anything I'm obsessed with as much as knitting?
Augie. The cat. Say hi, Augie.
That's true.
Augie.
It's just gonna be 5 minutes of us just, and then we're gonna be like, oh wait, we're recording still. How many subscribers do you think I have?
I don't know, a couple hundred?
Yeah, that's a good guess. I have like 600, I think.
I was gonna say 800.
How many followers do you think I have on Instagram? You're not even on Instagram.
I don't know.
He has no idea.
Well, I mean, I have an Instagram thing. I just never look at it. I don't know. I would say 1,200 on Instagram.
Yeah. I got like 5,000.
Wow. Is Augie helping?
Yeah. Oh, Augie is a star. Augie is a little star on Instagram. Aww. Yeah. Have you ever watched you on the table?
No. Not the whole thing. I've seen big parts of it.
Yeah. I think you saw my whole camelids video.
Oh yeah, I did watch that.
If you're interested in that. Bye, Aggie. We're almost done, honey. We're almost done. What's your favorite podcast that I watch? Your favorite knitting podcast that I watch?
What's the one? It's number 10 or number 14 or something.
Inside number 23.
Inside number 23. Yeah, I like her husband.
Yeah, he's great. Totally.
Yeah, I like that one. I like her accent.
If I knit you a sweater, would you wear it even if it's hideous?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even wear the tie.
Yeah, but I mean that was like. I had a hard
But not that much effort went into it because it was just a tie?
Yeah, and I had a hard time tying it too. Like
okay.
It was a little bit different from what I was used to. I'm not great at tying knots, and so I was like, this isn't. Yeah.
You'd wear a sweater that I made you even if you didn't love it?
Yeah.
Aw, you're so nice.
I wear that Donkey Kong sweater.
Do I need to go on a
I want you to Photoshop me in a Donkey Kong.
I'm not that skilled. I can't Photoshop
And then be like, it's happening, you guys.
Do I need to go on a fiber diet?
Literally, yes.
Like, I need to eat more fiber?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
We all could do with more fiber in our diets.
Yeah.
And how much do you think my stash is worth? God, I have no idea.
Like, how much could we actually sell it for? Like, worth in a market value way? Or
yeah, like if I were to individually sell...
Like, if you just eBay'd all that?
Not like a lot, but like if I individually sold each thing. If you found the buyer who wanted each skein, not just if you sell it as a lot, you're not going to be able to get that much for it. You know what I mean?
Is this Price is Right rules?
I mean, I don't know the answer.
Do I have to be closest without
we
going
don't
over?
have any rules because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
You're just
$230.
estimating. Okay. Yeah, it's probably a little more than that, but that's probably not far off. I was going to say a few hundred. Because I only have that one square of like unopened skeins.
Have you shown them the IKEA?
Yeah, it's in the Vlogmas. There's a Vlogmas stash tour if you guys haven't seen it.
I think it's so funny that people were like, IKEA stuff's hard to put together. Like, I'd be putting IKEA stuff together all day.
See, some people are skilled at things like knitting. Some people are really great at building IKEA furniture. That's one of your skills.
Some people are really great at interpreting visual instructions.
Yeah, exactly.
The more writing they have, the more confused I get. Like this chair had like all these.
This chair was not Swedish. You gotta
It's Chinese.
So, is there anything else that you think is important to mention about my knitting?
Oh wow, we did 43 questions.
Well, I mean, one of them was the same question 3 times, just forcing us to contemplate my death, no matter how much we didn't want to.
Is there anything else? Are you gonna dye again?
You mean like DYE?
No, morbidly.
Yes.
You're not gonna dye, are you?
No,
I really need you to eat more fiber.
I want to dye more yarn. It's one of those things where I haven't prioritized it because I have too much stuff going on. But I do want to.
Does the undyed wool still have lanolin on it?
You can buy undyed with lanolin or undyed that's been more processed. The stuff that I bought was superwash, so it didn't have a ton of lanolin. I mean, it's still going to have some.
But lanolin doesn't interfere with dyeing, or?
No.
No, okay.
But the superwash yarn that's been treated where I told you, like, they remove those little fibers that make it felt together.
Yeah.
When you do that, it actually does make it soak up the dye more and become more vibrant. So superwash yarn can be more vibrantly dyed than natural yarn.
So sometimes you could look at the color of something and tell it's superwash because you wouldn't be able to get this color otherwise without.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's so cut and dry that you would necessarily know just from looking at it, but like side by side, if you took the same dye and the same process on 2 skeins, you'd be able to tell by looking which one was superwash.
Thinking about the questions, it was like, what was the most interesting thing I've learned? But I've learned other things. Like the other day, you told me the difference between fur and hair. So.
Yeah, we've been learning a lot about fiber in this house.
Yeah.
Fiber Quest Cal.
Yeah, and I like all that. It's interesting. It's interesting to think about the materials that we have naturally in this world to work with at the time that, you know, man evolved. And to imagine a world without those materials or with different materials. I think not enough science fiction and fantasy writers do that, where they imagine a material that doesn't exist or imagine a world that's deprived of a material. And that's what's kind of cool too about when the new world discovered the old world, is that like the people in the Indies, everything was fiber technology, you know? They built whole bridges. And they were just like, yeah, this is the most obvious way you would do it. I mean, have you ever seen a llama? Of course you build a rubber bridge. You know? Yeah,
that is interesting. And I think that, like, even if you're just looking at fibers as materials, like all the fibers that there are, wool is so special and unique. There's so many properties that are completely individual. And I think a big part of, like, why... Like, I think it influenced clothing in a huge way just because of its elasticity. And I think that, like, influenced knitting. Because knitting is something that can make something elastic even if the fiber isn't elastic. But when the fiber itself is elastic, like wool, it becomes even stretchier.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I just feel like we would probably be wearing totally different clothes if we hadn't evolved fashion in a world where wool was a thing.
Well, it allows you to put a tube on your foot instead of just wrapping your foot.
Right. Yeah.
Wrapping your foot in some awkward way that you're going to get blisters.
And just think about all the places that people could live and cover their bodies with wool, you know, like places where knitting is so big, like Scandinavia and stuff, and just how warm it is, and like, and the whole sort of like fisherman lifestyle and people like, you know, going out and being able to be on these boats and be pelted by rain and everything because they had the technology in their clothing to withstand it.
Right, and it's neat too to think about like the peoples that developed without it. You know, like the Aborigines in Australia. They did not have any fiber animals to work with, did they?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm sure they had plant fibers even if they didn't.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, on that lovely nerding out about fiber and...
There's something for everybody, is what I'm getting at. There's everything connects to everything in an interesting way, including knitting. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm not into that, who cares? You know, that's stupid.
Yeah, if you're a curious person, you should be able to find something interesting about any subject that interests other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and the heat just kicked on and it's making a noise.
Will this be edited?
I don't know how to end this. I mean,
a little bit, and my body will seem to be all over the place because I kept moving so much.
I don't know. I might not edit. It's short enough. I might not like edit a ton out. I don't know.
50
I
minutes.
thought it was all interesting.
That tight 50 minutes. Come on, Augie. All right, thanks, Boo.
Love you. Thanks.